The importance of job history. Cannot stress this enough. If you're getting pre-qualified or looking to do any sort of mortgage loan, we're gonna look at every single job that you've had in the last 2 years. It's pretty much required for most loan types. We need to know every single job you've had. So if you're one of those people that maybe jumps around a little bit, maybe you only worked there for a week or 2 weeks or a month, and you may not think it's important, all of it is important, I can promise you. So I just had a super crazy loan experience. It was honestly a nightmare from day one. And it sucks because I know I share a lot of the good things that happen in mortgage and how it can help you and how it can build wealth and all these great things that happen. But when you don't have all your ducks in a row, it can be a really tough process. And so today I have a little bit of a bad news. We had to decline a loan and it was just a bummer. So I want to talk about a few things that kind of went into that and what could have been avoided. And hopefully this will help those of you that maybe you have changed jobs a little bit in the last few years and why it's so important that you give all of that information to your loan officers. Every single job is important because depending on the loan type that we're doing, which most of them require that 2-year job history, it's okay to change jobs, but we have to document every single one of them because we're going to check. The mortgage world lives by the trust but verify situation. We trust that you're giving us all the correct information, but we are going to verify it. So we're going to find out if it's not all there or if something's missing. And some things take a little longer to find, especially if you have had multiple jobs. So we had a situation where lots of different job changes, we had the dates, and then we reached out to those employers to get an employment verification for those dates and to know like how much money they were making during that time frame. And they kept coming back different than what we had, and this kept happening over and over and over. So long story short, it ended up just a very long loan process that ended up getting declined at the final hour because the information that was originally presented just essentially was not true, and it just was kind of a bummer. As a loan officer, those ones sting, right? When we're working and helping somebody get into a home and then they can't, I take that really personally, and I know I shouldn't, but I do. And so I always think, I'm like, okay, well, I probably should have done a better job of asking those questions and verifying the dates and doing all of that. But the point is, we can't always do all of that up front. Be honest and truthful and share everything that you possibly can with your loan officer when you're looking to get pre-qualified. When we go to check, we're gonna find out. We're gonna check those dates to see if you really did work from that date to that date. And if they don't match and that creates a gap in your employment, that can create problems, and ultimately it's just a terrible situation. And you get declined for a loan and you lose money and it sucks. Make sure you're always giving the proper information and being as accurate as possible. And I know sometimes it's not always done on purpose. When I first had to get my mortgage license, I had to give my job history for 10 years, as well as my address history for 10 years. Well, I was a younger kid, and so I moved around a ton, and I had a few different jobs. Like, I remember having to go online and having to pay for like a public report on myself to find out where all my addresses were and like the different jobs that I had with their addresses and things. I get that it can be complicated and it kind of sucks, but the more accurate and the more correct information we have from the get-go, the smoother it makes that loan process. So by the time that you are under contract and that you've got an accepted offer to purchase a home, you know that the loan portion of it is going to go through really smooth, and ultimately we're just going to be waiting on paperwork, which is waiting for the appraisal, which tells us how much the home is worth, getting you the keys. So if you're looking for a nice smooth loan process, make sure you always give the correct information, as much of it as possible, as accurate as you possibly can, especially when it comes to your work history and even address history too. But you want to share with us every single detail so that we can get your loan done correctly and get it done smoothly and ultimately get you to the closing table with a big happy smile on your face when you walk into that new house that is yours. For more tips and tricks, check out several of my other videos that go into how you can structure offers, how you can get sellers to pay for your closing costs. So be sure to check out my other videos. I've got a whole library full of them, or if you do have a question that you don't see answered on anything, hit me up in the comments. All my contact information is always on the back part of this, so be sure to give me a call today and I'd be happy to help. Providing the most accurate information will ensure that you have a nice, smooth process from start to finish. Speaking of smooth, let's make a very smooth cocktail that I know you're gonna love because it's gonna be delicious. So let's get to it. One of my favorite drinks of all time is the classic old fashioned. So I am gonna make a variation of that today with an infused whiskey. This thing is legit. It's my favorite whiskey, which is the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Edition. 120 proof. So that's how I like my whiskey. The hotter, the better. The more high proof, the better. This one I am calling the Chocolate Orange Old Fashioned, and you'll see why. This whiskey is an infusion. It's that Elijah Craig whiskey, but I infused it with cocoa beans and orange peel. We're gonna start with 2 ounces of that. Throw it in our little stirrer. A little bit of simple syrup. This is a smoked simple syrup that I got from the Traeger brand. I'm gonna use about 1/4 ounce of that. Orange bitters, 2 dashes, and Mexican chocolate bitters. A couple dashes of that, and that's it. Add ice, stir this guy up. We just stir it on up. I freaking love old fashions because they're so simple and there's like so many variations you can do. You can use whatever kind of whiskey you want, whatever kind of sugar you want, whatever kind of bitter. And so you can even swap out the simple syrup for like a liqueur or some other sweet ingredient. As long as you've got your whiskey, your sweet, and your bitter, that's essentially a way to kind of make your own cocktails. That's how I started doing it because I had a bartender buddy that told me that's how he did it. That's nice and cold. Just clear ice cube. Just gonna pour it over a whole block of ice. Just like that. I should have dipped half of this dried orange in chocolate, but I didn't have any chocolate and I didn't feel like running to the store, so we're just gonna find one and toss it on there. Man, these are all giant. Do I have a smaller one? And dried orange peels are great because like you can just dry them up and then you can throw them on like cocktails and whatever. So we're just gonna throw that guy right on top. And there we have it, guys. The chocolate orange old fashioned. Absolutely delicious. You can drink this thing right now. Okay, cool. Oh yes, I'm gonna need at least 5 more of those.